Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Jewel TV episode number 21, which is live today, 5 ways to convince a client to purchase prints. So I am, of course, your host, Julia Kelleher, and joining me today is Belinda DeBoer.
Hi.
This is Belinda's first Taco Latte, I should say, with me since we did Market Like You Mean It in the fall. So welcome back, Belinda.
Thanks.
It's so good to see you.
I'm excited.
As always, you can see that I am not well. I've been struggling with a cold for the last week. So I apologize if my voice sounds a little bit off and off kilter. So that's why she's here to hold up the fort while I can't talk. But anyway, welcome to you all. Obviously now what's cool is that Facebook or my Zoom software program allows us to broadcast directly into the group now, which is kind of nice. We don't have to share from our business page, which makes things a little bit easier and just more private, so we can have more candid conversations, I think, rather than, first going out onto my public Jewel Images page. So we're super happy about that. So as always, we're going to talk until our coffee gets cold. So let's get started, shall we? It's a fun topic today. I'm really excited. Okay, let me get back into my keynotes here and we will chat away about what it takes to convince a client to purchase prints. Now, I know a lot of photographers have digital models out there. They shoot and burn is what we call it. It's become kind of a derogatory term. But I don't think it has to be, and you can still sell digitals and prints at the same time. I don't think there's any issue with that. And some photographers don't like the whole idea of IPS, selling in person. I don't know if they're intimidated by it, they just don't have time, they're just not ready to make that leap. And I think that's okay too, is really what it, what I mean.
Future topic.
Yeah, right, future topic. Belinda knows that I'm just a believer in making money, and what you do really is what it comes down to. So before we get into episode 22, this of course is a Jewel TV production. Please welcome you all to Jewel TV. We just launched the actual formal Jewel TV this year, and you can go to jewel-tv.com, of course, to see the archives and to get today's freebie. I'll tell you what the freebie is in a few minutes. The freebie, of course, will be available right after this episode airs. So to get the freebie and access the archives, you want to go to jewel-tv.com. You're going to enter your name and your email, and that will, of course, give you access to everything, including past episodes. So on to the topic at hand today, 5 ways to convince a client to purchase prints. How many of you out there actually have some issues with this? How many of you have issues with getting your clients to actually want something other than the digitals? I know that's the first topic of conversation when someone calls, right?
Always.
Because Belinda answers our, she's like, always. Belinda answers our phone here at the studio, and she does all the booking. She takes all the inquiries and turns them into bookings. And I have to say, her booking rate is really high. She does a really good job of doing this. And she used to hate it. Tell me how much you hate it.
I still hate it.
You still hate it?
I still have to mentally prepare myself to get on the phone.
You do, really?
Still.
Why is that, you think? What is it about
know.
talking on the phone that you think that is so hard?
I think part of it is because it's so in the moment that I'm afraid that the client's going to ask me something that I'm not going to know the answer to. And then I'm going to be either a poor representative of the business, or they're going to think that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And so I'm always nervous about that.
So what happens when that does happen? When someone asks you a question and you're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what the answer is. I feel like a dork. What do you do?
I just call it out.
Yeah.
I'm such an open book. A lot of times I'm the other day I was trying to talk to a client and I just couldn't even put 2 words together correctly. And I was just, it was she had been on our website, so she knew a lot of the information. So she was kind of filling it in for me. And so I just called out. I'm like, I don't even know that. I'm so sorry. I cannot even speak today. You would think I was the one that just had a newborn and is all sleep deprived. And she laughed and it was fine. And then that gave me time to kind of collect myself and regroup and then go forward. And
Well, I've even heard her sometimes she'll, if she has having a hard time with topics on the phone, she's like, you know what, I'll need to check in with Julia and get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Or that's a new inquiry for us. I'm not really sure. I'll have to get back to you.
Yeah.
And clients seem okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did think about that when you first asked, but I know a lot of our viewers are the the only one,
the
and so
sole
they can't, like,
proprietor,
they
yeah.
don't have someone
Yeah.
to like
Totally.
throw it off on, which is convenient for me to be like, oh, I
She
don't know, I'll have
just-
to check with Julia.
She just passes the buck to me. Right?
Yeah,
No,
but
it's okay.
but saying, oh, I haven't come across that question before, so I'm not really sure how to answer it.
Yeah, let me get back to you.
I'll get back to you.
Or I'll investigate and get back to
Yeah.
you, or something like
Mhm.
that. Always works well. So what I think is important when you're trying to talk a client into doing prints, one of the biggest things there is to just begin with the end in mind. Belinda does that pre-consultation. She talks heavily to the client in the beginning and really pushes them towards art by planting the seed of the sale. And one of the questions that we always ask is, if people just want digitals and they're really kind of a stick in the mud about it, we say, well, why hire a professional if you just want digital files and you don't plan to do anything with them if you're not going to print? And what, you've asked that a question a couple times. What is the response to that? Like, what do they kind of go, oh yeah, it dawns on them, doesn't it?
There isn't really like a specific response, but they kind of have that like aha moment,
Yeah.
and I don't I think I don't word it that
not quite that way.
that way, just because it's in the beginning. And a lot of times when I ask them,
want to keep it positive,
how they want to see their images, what their goal is with, starting with the end in mind, they don't usually know.
Yeah.
I mean, some people know, like, okay, I want an album, or I want that image above my fireplace or whatever. But most people, it's, oh, I don't know. Yeah. I just know that I need to capture this time.
Yeah.
And so I usually, usually go about it like a softer way. And I think then in the sales appointment, it's more like you push it hard when they're like, oh, we'll just do like a la carte files. It's like, well, when was the last time you printed your files?
Like when's the last time you actually printed something off your iPhone?
Beautiful images if you're not going to do anything with them. And so I think it's important to talk about it throughout the whole process, but I think like really pushing it, in the end.
Yeah, kind of at the sales appointment. Yeah. And I do all the sales appointments here at the studio, but I don't really do anything like a hard sell. Like we don't.
Right. Yeah.
We don't like make people. Yeah. I don't want somebody to walk away regretful, but I do. Kind of logic takes over. So why did you hire me if you don't want to print them? Like if you're just going to let them sit on the USB drive.
And if they're really like adamant about like, well, what if we just wanted a couple digitals? Then we talk about, like, well, we're a high-end studio and, go into the, and that we pride ourselves on the fact that we specialize in the art of printing, and we really want them to have something that they can, something tangible that they can pass down for other generations.
I've heard you on the phone in that kind of pre-consultation talk, that booking inquiry talk. You've physically said, hey, we might not be, you've implied that we're not the best fit for you.
The best fit. Yeah.
If you just want a couple digitals.
Right.
That's not really what we do.
Right.
And then when they realize what we do and how critical and how artistic it is, they either change their mind and want a book, or they do go to someone else, and that's good. We want them to do that at that point.
Yeah.
So when you are trying to convince a client to print, you want to upfront from the beginning ask them to think, or to start the whole process with the end result in mind, with the goal in mind, because that gets them thinking and planting the seed of the sale. So let's go on to number 2. You want to, in your conversations with your clients, devalue the files. And I know that sounds negative. I want it to be kind of a positive spin on it. What's important to communicate is that digital is not an archival method of storage. You need to communicate to your clients how fragile digital files are. And not many people know this, but what we do know is that like the USB drive is like, even the USB drive is beginning to fade away. Now it's all that USB-C. I just bought this new laptop, a MacBook Pro, and it only has USB-C connections in it. It doesn't have an SD, it doesn't have an HDMI, it doesn't have anything but those silly little USB-C, and it's so frustrating because I have to have adapters for everything, but that's what Apple is doing. They're changing technology, and they tend to lead the technology race. So technology will eventually, quote, kill digital files. And I don't mean that in the terms of like destroy them. What I mean is it's just going to be harder and harder for clients to access their files as they ignore them. What happens is, we're all, especially in our line of work where we have busy parents and busy moms who have a newborn, or, lots of kids, they just don't have time to do things, and stuff gets procrastinated on. So the files will end up in a drawer somewhere, which to me is like the most depressing thing ever. And then they have good intentions. All of our clients have really good intentions, but that nothing ever really happens to the files. They never do anything with them. I've had clients come back to me for their 3rd and 4th sessions saying, oh my gosh, I still haven't printed anything for the newborn session. And I seriously want to like scream when they say that.
Yeah.
Because it's
or bring us the images from other, like before they moved here, before they
Yeah.
found us, from other people that where they just got the disc,
that
and they're like, oh, can you incorporate these images into the out, like if they're doing like a year in review or a 5 years album. You know, we had one client that did like the first 5 years kind of thing.
Yes, I tell
They
you
brought us
that.
images.
Oh my gosh, my camera is like, as it gets brighter in here. Let me
Oh yeah,
introduce
because
again.
the sun's coming
The
out.
sun's coming up, and there we go. That's a little bit better. The sun comes up, and then there was this like bright white thing going on. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest take-home lessons for all of you who shoot just digital and like give the client the disc and don't want to help them print. The client sees that, because I can't tell you, as Belinda said, the number of clients who have come to us and have said, oh my gosh, I went to this, photographer in so-and-so state where we used to live, and she gave me this disc, but I've never done anything with it. Can you print them? And I'd be like, oh yeah. And I profit off that other photographer's files. And that's money that you're leaving on the table and a service that you're not providing to your clients all around. And I know that sometimes doing that whole IPS appointment is intimidating and scary, but once you do it a couple times and you realize that it's not that hard and that you really are assisting your client and that they are grateful for it, it's not that hard sales thing, then I take a lot of joy. We all do here at the studio when the client, some of us will, like, sometimes we'll actually, if we really love a session, all 3 of us will watch the slideshow with the client, and they're crying, and it's just such a joy to see their reactions to the images. And you don't get that if you just hand them.
That's my favorite part.
It really is the best part, isn't it? It is.
Well, and going back to the pre-consult call, when I tell them that, like, you come back for your appointment, you'll see a slideshow of your images, and I actually say, Julia will help you narrow them down based on what you want to order, and that you can just, like, even through the phone, you can just tell that they're like, okay, like, it's going to be okay. I'm not just going to be given all, of course they're going to love them all, right? They're like of their own kid, and they're not going to want to get rid of any. And so like the idea of having to pick one to print for their wall is like, how am I ever going to choose? So knowing that the professional is going to be there to help them, like, I can tell that they're like, oh, that's awesome.
A sense of relief, and that burden is lifted. Okay, so did I make our points before we move on here? Let me go ahead and share my screen. We'll go back to Keynote. I know I'm going back and forth, but sometimes I think it's boring to like just see keynotes or just see us or whatever. So communicate that, the files are not archival. And I think that's the biggest take home I want you to take away from number 2. Digital files are fragile, and actually historians are quite worried that this century or more will be the next dark ages, because every document we create, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, JPEG files, I mean, all these electronic documents are not archival. Yet, we have the Library of Congress where all the Declaration of Independence was written by hand on paper, and we can preserve that. We can, like, make sure that over time that lives in infamy. Whereas a digital file, they don't know how long digital files will last. And you can back them up in multiple locations, but even so, still, one little tick of technology gone wrong on that file, and it's all of a sudden corrupt, and you can no longer print from it. However, if you have a print, we can always make a new digital negative from that print. So the print is truly what's archival, and that's how I communicate that to my clients. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Provide attractive alternatives to the client other than digital. So number 1, beef up your product line. And this is where today's freebie comes into play. I'm going to be excited to share with you the freebie today. Focus on unique product lines. So, and this takes a little creativity on your part as an entrepreneur. You got to think of products that your client can't necessarily create on their own. You need to think of products that are unique to your market. I mean, everybody sells Canvas. And do we offer Canvas? Of course we do, because clients want it. But we also have other really unique products that can't be produced in other places. And that helps a lot. Of course, you guys know this old adage. I am preaching to the choir here, but it's so true. Show what you want to sell and merchandise it beautifully. Now, when I started putting up displays in my studio of what I actually wanted to sell, the products that I wanted to sell very specifically, our sales jumped incredibly by merchandising it beautifully and showcasing it in your space. If you don't have a space, that is okay. What do you think like Pottery Barn and Restoration Hardware do? They put out this gorgeous catalog. And, you know, we don't have a Pottery Barn here in town. I wish we had a Pottery Barn here in town so I could walk through it and be inspired. But instead, I have to look at the catalog. Do I buy things? Of course I do. Now, do I buy entire rooms? No, I don't have quite that kind of budget, but maybe a sofa like once every 10 years. But still, the Pottery Barn sends me their catalog, and I love to look through it because it inspires me. And it gives me a chance to go online to their site and purchase things. So if you have a beautiful catalog and you don't have an actual retail location, that is okay too. So providing those attractive alternatives is what's truly going to get a client enticed to print. If you don't show that stuff, they're going to buy what they know because that's what's safe. And what do they know? Digital files. Exactly. I truly believe that digital files are the same thing that gift prints used to be years ago. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Back when, you know, we had like true negatives film. You know, no one even bothered to ask for the negatives because they couldn't do anything with them. Yeah. Whereas digitals, of course, they can do something with them. But so people wanted gift prints, 8x10s. That was the first question they would call and ask. What's the cost of your 8x10? I mean, that was like the first question out of their mouth. Well, today it's what's the cost of your digital files and do you sell the digitals? I mean, that's the big thing. Yeah. And so back in the day, the great portrait artists and the great photographers who were running really amazing businesses, they would offer gift prints with wall art. So that's exactly what I'm asking you to do now. Just replace what used to be the 8x10 with the digital files. If you provide attractive alternatives to the client and then do a hybrid pricing structure where you offer the digitals with the art, now all of a sudden you're getting what you want and the client is getting what they want too. And once they realize that the art is truly what will last and what's going to give them the most joy, they will be so grateful that they did print something with you. I mean, I can't tell you the number of clients who are like, oh, I'm so glad we did that beautiful wall piece of Little Susie. We look at it every day and, you know, the other files are still on the drive. I mean, literally it happens all the time. So not only when you provide attractive alternatives, but then you create a hybrid pricing structure, this is where things are going to sing. This is where it's all going to start coming together. Yeah. So we offer files with art only, pretty much. I mean, I do offer files a la carte, and I'm going to show you kind of our pricing structure here in a minute. But the better deal is to go with art and files. I sound like a frog. It's so bad. It's getting worse. Make the files, quote, hard to get. And when I say I put hard in quotes, because you don't want to make it impossible to get, but you want to definitely make a statement and say, hey, we're an art studio, and yeah, you can get the files, but you got to get art first. You know, that's put your foot down there, I guess is what I'm saying. You want to build incentive in your price list, so always make it so that the client wants to buy more. And there's a way to do that softly without being salesy about it. And I'll talk about that a little bit here when we get into our own pricing structure. But then, of course, if you do offer the files with the art, help them print. You know, don't leave them to their own devices. We use Shootproof to put our files, our clients' files up online so that family and friends can not only see them there, but they can also order through Miller's Lab. And Miller's is my lab nowadays. I love them dearly, and it direct fulfills to them. I don't have to do anything. And clients order prints and products. We price them at our, you know, it's a little bit above cost just to account for our time to manage and maintain that. But for the most part, the client can get professional prints at a reasonable rate. So what our pricing structure is, basically, it's create a collection. They basically build their own portrait package. So number one, they choose an art product. And then number two, they choose their digital files. But here's the clincher. This is how it works. This is where the incentive is built in. So I want you to look at this really, really carefully. First of all, go down to the bottom here and look at a la carte. So someone can come into our studio and choose one of two options a la carte. They can choose 12 files printable to 8x10 for $4.95, or they could choose 20 files printable to 30x40 for $9.95. And we just jacked up our prices a little bit. This is brand new pricing for us. We're moving to a new space and my rent is almost doubling, so we got to cover the overhead somehow, right? So we are raising prices. But so look at that, 12 files at $4.95. Well, now let's go up to create a collection up there, steps 1 and 2. So step 1 is to choose a signature product. So you can start at $250 with wall art. Everything we do is wall ready and framed and out the door. Or you can choose an album that begins at $425. Okay, so you get to choose one of those and the world is your oyster. You can choose one thing, you can choose 50, you can do whatever you want in that step. But the starting price is $250, okay? Then, in order to create a collection, they have to do step 2 too. They're gonna choose their files, but look at this. In Create a Collection, you get all your files. Printable to 8x10 for $4.95. Basically the same price as a la carte where you only get 12. You could get the high-res files for $725. And usually in a platinum session, we show between 30 and 40 finished images. So number 1, narrowing that down to 12 or 20 is almost impossible for the client. And number 2, if they purchase in collection, they get them all. So in other words, for $250 more, they get all their files plus an art piece. But I want you to see this even further. We've built incentive into those high-res files. The high-resolution files include a complimentary image box with all their session proofs and either birth announcements or a set of 3 mini books. So think about that value. That's over $500 in value right there with the free gifts, okay? So I've added a $500 value to the all files high-res option. So you can see there, all files is $725 in Create a Collection. Add $250 to that, and you're at slightly under $1,000. Okay. Look at a la carte. 20 high-res files is $995. It's slightly more money. So by building these incentives and making people choose art and the files, they're getting so much more. They're getting all their images. They don't have to pick, and they get an art product. And if they decide to upgrade to the high-res files, they get an image box and either birth announcements or mini books. So right there, I've created incredible incentive in Create a Collection by convincing people to, because they want all the files, they can only get all the files if they do create a collection. And in turn, they not only get the files at a reduced rate compared to a la carte, they also get a signature product of some kind. So basically, our minimum collection order right here is $745. Combine that with our session fee of $250, and we easily have a $1,000 sale with every client minimum who walks through our door. Now, could somebody just purchase 12 digital files a la carte for $495 and get out of here for $745 there with session fee included? Yes, but it's worth the extra $250 to do the high-res files, even if they're low resolution, and to get some kind of framed wall-ready art. So build your pricing structure in a way that helps you in the sales room and create that incentive. Okay, number 5. Really what it comes down to is just educating your client, guys. Printed art affects kids positively. It improves their self-esteem, and we communicate that to our clients. The print is what will be the heirloom. That album that you hold in your hand is what your kids are gonna want when you've kicked the bucket later. And I will literally say that the album is gonna be what those children want when you and I have kicked the bucket, when we're long gone. And they kind of laugh at me, but it's true, and they know it's true. There is actually 65% more emotional value holding a print than swiping on a device. If you, like when we show that image box, the image box that comes with the high-res files, we actually have ready at the sales appointment. So right after I do the slideshow on the big screen using ProSelect, then I pull out the image box and pull out the proofs and hand the client the proofs. And they see the crystal USB drive. Oh, and look at my wonderful Beth here. She is going to open that box. Here's our box.
I didn't realize that you did that either. I saw you do that with a client today. I'm like, oh, she's like actually making them touch it.
Oh yeah, I make them touch it. So here's the proof. The USB drive is missing from this one because it's just a sample. We usually tie a bow around this, but this says "Love is all you need" on the front there. It's really sweet. I don't know if you can see that. But then I physically take the proofs and I hand them to my client, and I let her poke through them and basically finger through them, and you will literally see, I mean, the client will look and they'll be like this, and they'll go like this to the print.
Like touching
They'll like touch it and like fondle it, basically, for lack of a better word. And you can physically, like, I can't talk to them at that point. Like I actually have learned that I need to shut up because
Like
they,
let them enjoy the moment,
well, seriously, because they get
or
this
they're
like
tuning you out.
this weird bubble where they tune
Well,
me
just
out.
not even me. Like, this isn't even my kid, and I'm like, oh yeah, haha, remember that one? And this is a baby planner, and we shot her as a newborn. So there's memories for us in these, even.
Oh yeah,
you know?
and so
I've heard different expressions and stuff.
Oh yeah, and I've learned that I can't talk. So, but I know what's happening in that moment. I know that the mom is like having that 65% higher emotional reaction. And then of course, I've just endeared her to this box. She cannot let it go.
Oh yeah.
And so she will, of course, I tell them, you know, this box and the USB drive you get to take home today if you do the high-res files and create a collection. And then you also get a set of mini books or birth announcements or cards or something like that. So they immediately are like, oh yeah, we need those high-res files. We need to do create a collection. We got to have them all.
Yeah.
So we've built that incentive there, but I'm also using that education of that emotional reaction in my sales appointment. So something to think about. Let's keep going here. I'll share my screen a little bit more. You guys gotta be forgiving of my archaic system here. Okay. And then of course I do say, like we said before, I communicate to my clients, you know, why hire a professional if they're just gonna sit on the USB drive? Like, you know that's gonna happen. When's the last time you printed off your iPhone? Like, really, when is the last time? I'm guilty of it too. I've printed a couple pictures when my son was 2 years old or before, but he's now 5.5, and I still haven't printed anything from age 3 to 5.5, and I feel so guilty. And I think your clients do too. So when you offer to take care of that for them with printed art, there's this big sense of relief. And then when you combine it with a pricing structure that makes it easy for them to do that, I mean, that's what gets you to convince a client to actually print. So guys, what it really comes down to is educating your client, informing them, assisting them in every way you can, and enticing them to do it. And if you can accomplish those 4 things, then I think you're going to have a much easier time convincing a client. Not only, you know, I don't convince them away from digitals necessarily, I just convince them to add on art as well. I know my clients want those digitals. They want to share them with family and friends digitally and on social media, and that's okay, and I need to be okay with that. But I'm not okay if they just do the digitals. It's really annoying to me when a client just purchases a la carte files. And it happens like maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I know that's a bell curve, and it's an outlier on the bell curve. And so that's, you know, it is what it is.
A lot of times it's like the maternity session.
It's a maternity,
too.
something like that. So today's freebie is our 2017 product line. Woohoo! We just figured this out. As a matter of fact, this is brand new. So we're going to, you know, granted, we just kind of told you what we do. We don't source it or price it or anything, but at least you can see what our products are. So go ahead and download it. Go to jewel-tv.com, opt in, and you'll see the episode there. We have to get it up on the site. So we're just a little mighty team of 3 here. So please be forgiving of us taking a couple minutes after the episode to go upload that. It is uploaded, right? We just need to link it. Yeah. So go ahead and do that. And then of course it'll be up for you guys to look at. And definitely all you have to do is opt in at jewel-tv.com. So next week.
I already linked it.
Oh, you linked it.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I was on the ball.
You're the best. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, she's my right and left hand. Okay, so next week, we're doing our first quick critique. I'm so excited. Jane, what's her last name? Jane Garner is going to be with us. She's uploaded images. She's going to be here live. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And if you're tuning in, I will call you back today.
We've been playing phone tag, so.
But we're super excited. I think Jane is in a position where she wants to like start niching down, and she wants to evaluate her work for professional quality and stuff like that. So we're going to be doing these quick critiques once a month. So if you'd like to apply for image critique, go to jewel-tv.com to the image critique section, the mini critiques, and we will get your application and upload your images, and hopefully you'll be picked to do that. We also have our mini mentoring coming up. I think, is that the week after next?
The week after.
Who's our first one for that? Has she agreed yet to be on?
Yes.
Do you remember?
I think it's Marianne.
Marianne, okay.
And don't ask me how to pronounce her last name.
Okay, do you remember what the topic is, what we're going to be discussing?
Yes, we're going to talk about like matching your brand and your pricing together.
Oh, nice. Okay, does the brand match the price kind of thing? So when can you jack your prices to match the brand? Yeah.
Just rebranded, and so she's trying to make sure that she's got all her ducks in a row. And
sweet.
Yeah.
It's like so exciting. We have some amazing episodes coming up. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube or on Jewel-TV and you want to see it live every Tuesday, go to facebook.com/groups /Julia Kelleher you can engage with us. Of course, we're going to be taking questions here in a few minutes.
Yep.
I can't talk too much because I'm very much losing my voice.
Okay, I can answer.
But
most of
she
them
can, oh good. She can answer.
from reading.
Nice.
I'm sure you'll have your own little.
I'll jump in here and there. But if you want to find me on other social media channels, you can go here. So screenshot this if you guys want to, and you can find me on social media. Okay, so let's go ahead and take some questions here, and then we'll wrap it up. My coffee is almost cold, not quite. We'll go until my.
We've
coffee's
actually
cold.
had some first time. A lot of times people, when they ask us questions about digital files, we're like, well, we've never had a client say that, but there's been a couple recently. I've been like so excited to like do this episode, because I'm like, oh, now we actually have like our own personal experience that we can say this is how we handled it.
Nice.
So that kind of lends to Becky Smith asked, do you have a response when clients want digitals to print on their own? And I just had an inquiry that said that they own a printing business. Like a large format printing business. And so she didn't want to do create your own collection. Like she's like, so then she kept asking, well, okay, so we have the a la carte files like Julia presented earlier, but then she was like, well, what if we just want a couple so that we can like print it? And so then I had to give the spiel about, well, we only have, we offer them in the package that they're in based on cost of doing business. And if you want all of them, you take a printed piece with you. Yeah. That's how we do it. And do you think she was going to book, or do you think it was kind of one of those things where she was like, I think that she's going to find someone else. That's kind of the feeling I got. And it happens to us a lot. I mean, she has a really high booking rate, but I mean, there are times when it's just not the client for us. And you just have to, I guess, as a professional, I know it's really hard, like when you're first starting out and you need to make money and you're like clamoring to pay your rent every month, you kind of want to take any and every session that you can, but also remember that not every client is your client. And oftentimes when you take on those sessions that were iffy to begin with, it usually ends up being more headache than it's worth. Totally. And on the flip side, I don't know if this question is on the list, so I'm sorry if I ignore other people's questions first, but people always ask, well, what do you do if a client doesn't want digitals? And we had it in the 5 years that I've been here, I've never had a client ask me that. It just happened. And it just happened a month or two ago for the first time. Yeah. And she said, because I don't want to have to deal with printing them on my own. That was her reasoning for not wanting them. Yeah. And we just communicated to her that we will hold her hand through that process. And that we will, the whole shoot proof thing that we do, the gallery is really easy. And if she needs help, we would literally walk her through it on the phone if she needed it. And I told her that, all of our clients go home with digital files mostly because people like to share them on social media with family and friends, but but I also, what's the word I'm looking for? Not agreed, but like, confirmed? Yes, confirmed her love of prints with the fact that we do too. We totally want you to print, and we totally think that's important as well. And now, excuse me, but we also give you digitals to make it easy. Well, and I, in light of that client, this one, I thought to myself, well, I wonder if we could do like a gift print collection instead of digital files, like as an option. I mean, that could be, but since it's only happened once in literally like 10 years of doing business, I just kind of went, well, I need to get more requests for that before I'm going to start changing our structure and doing it. So totally. Morgan Snyder. Hi, Morgan. She asked for our IPS sessions if we show straight out of camera. We never show clients ever straight out of camera. And there's a reason for that. Sometimes if we feel generous, we'll give them like a peek of the back of the camera. Yeah. But a little tiny screen. All of our images are completely edited, ready to print. Now, with that being said, if they order something really large, we will go back in and just make sure that there aren't any like random spots we missed or something. Yeah, make sure it's going to get blown up large. We want to make sure that there aren't little outline. Well, there's a reason for that, and the reason I like to show fully finished images is because clients can't really visualize what a finished image will look like. I mean, you and I like see it. We're photographers. We if someone show straight out of camera, you're like, oh, I know they're going to fix that or smooth that out. Part of the reason, especially new moms are hiring me, is because they like the illusion I provide. I mean, for lack of a better word, I know that sounds bad, but we do liquefy our moms. We slim them down, not grossly, of course. They still need to look like their normal selves. But we retouch, we get rid of the dark circles, things like that. And
they like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want them, I know that my sales would go down if I showed unretouched images. So
Well, and a lot of our moms have had like postpartum rashes or acne or
yeah,
something.
something like that. Then the other thing too is if they do create a collection, my clients get to go home with the digitals that day. And that is powerful sales stuff right there. So to me, it's worth it. They love walking out the door with a physical product.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's worth it to fully edit the images beforehand, because 95% of our clients, 99% of our clients do create a collection. So I know they're going to get all the images anyway. So that just means we have to control production and not show too many images and just keep things really consistent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alexandra said,
Caneri. I love that. In Brazil.
yes, that delivering digital is really big part of the culture there, and clients won't hire you at all if you don't offer files. And I know that's a big
It's almost like that here too.
there is, and there's a lot of threads in the group about like, should I offer digitals or not? And I know that there are some of our students that don't and have very successful studios. I think you need to make that decision based on your market and your own business and what works for you and what's in your heart.
To me, my decision-making process was I love prints. I wanted to sell prints. And I wavered back and forth a little bit selling digitals. But then that same concept was like, well, my clients want it. If I don't sell it, they're going to go somewhere else. So I got to figure out how to sell it so that it works for both ways. And that's how Create a Collection was born. By just thinking through that process and how can I get a client to purchase what I need them to purchase. But at the same time, providing them with what they want. So Create a Collection was the methodology for that. Offer a hybrid system and just make it a better deal to do art. And that's going to be a huge, huge factor alone right there in getting your clients to not only book you, but to also buy from you. So
yeah. Mark Stevens is.
Hi, Mark.
I know, it's so nice. Like I can picture their little Facebook profiles when I read their names.
Me too. Me too.
What markup do you use when people do buy the files? Do you mean the actual markup on the files or when they
I think he means when they order prints. It's not much. It's probably double the lab cost. So like if an 8x10, like I think it depends on, it's double, some it's not. Like on the 8x10, sorry, I'm having a little trouble thinking and focusing because I'm not feeling that great. Like an 8x10, I think the lab charges $250 for it, and I think it's like $650 or $7 on the site. It's not exorbitant, but it's enough to cover our cost for actually uploading and maintaining that. But I let their galleries expire after 3 months. Like they have 3 months to purchase prints. And then we also are building ShootProof allows you to build in automation to remind the client that their gallery is expiring or how to print, or educating the client on printing, or sending them, we're going to send them a whole like how to design a wall guide. We're going to push them to print on their own. So we're hoping that works. I just signed up with ShootProof like last month at Imaging. We just started using them, and so far I'm really liking it. But I think that whole email automation that allows you to send clients email based on the date of their gallery is pretty incredible stuff. It has if this then that statements, right, too? Like if they do certain things within ShootProof,
I think so. Yeah, like if they put stuff in their cart but didn't buy, or someone visited the cart but didn't just viewed things.
Yes.
There's
so you can send workflows, email workflows out ShootProof based on a client's behavior in a gallery. So that's incredibly powerful stuff too.
And how did you figure out that markup for printing on the site?
It was actually pretty mishmash. I didn't do a specific percentage. I didn't want it to look so expensive that it kind of made them shy away from it. But I also didn't, they've bought the files from me. They've bought the personal printing rights. So I'm not going to charge retail. That would be like double whammy.
Charging them 2 times.
That would be bait and switch kind of thing. So it's just, it's enough to give me a nice big Christmas spending spree at the end of the year. Usually, for the number of clients we have, I usually have $4,000 or $5,000 in my piggy bank to go Christmas shopping. And that's kind of how I look at it. When they've bought the printing rights to the files, they have the right to print them anywhere. I want them to print in a professional area and make it easy for them. But I also need to make a little bit of money off of it, so it values our time to help them do so. Okay.
Someone asked, Danielle asked, what do you do if they only want art and files? So I already answered that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Danielle. And then
which is awesome, by the way, right?
I totally knew that was going to come up.
Yeah.
Jackie Marie wants to know, when is the right time to switch your pricing? She does have a hybrid model, but not create your own collection. She has a higher session fee that already includes some digitals because she knows that's what everyone wants. And then she has print credit. So she's wondering, can I also do create your own collection and then use the print credit towards the item in create your own collection?
Jackie, Jackie's so sweet. I love Jackie. She's awesome. She was one of my master
I
students.
was going to ask if that was the same person.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I
Unless
think it
there's
is,
more than
too.
one Jackie Marie, which is not, which is like,
Unlikely.
it could be likely. Yeah. So Jackie, the answer is yes. Of course you can do both. But I strongly encourage you to have the little thought in your head, less is more, less is more, less is more. My pricing model is really simple, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out ways to make it simpler. The beginning of the year is always those times when you like rethink your business and want to do new things. And I'm sitting here going, how can I make Create a Collection simpler? How can I make it easier? How can I make it more understandable to the client? And I've come up with a few ideas that I think we're going to go with at this point. I'm not sure. I'm still kind of muddling that around in my entrepreneurial head. But the biggest thing that veers clients away from booking you is complication. If it's not easy to book you, if it's challenging, if it's complicated, if it's confusing, if they don't understand, then the client like checks out. They like tune out. And that to me is the kiss of death in any booking, inquiry, sale, whatever. So less is more. Keep it simple, stupid, like simple, stupid. And then clients will be like, oh, that's easy. That is nice. That's enjoyable. Like when you go to, this is a bad analogy because it's not the right kind of business comparison, but if you go to a fast food joint and the menu is like crazy complicated and you have to do all these things and you're like, I just want a hamburger, man.
So they just have a hamburger.
That's where the meal came into play. It was easy. So that's what everybody orders because it's easy. So if you have like two separate pricing structures, I think you're going to make things more complicated than it needs to be. So by all means, yes, you can do that. But I strongly encourage you to think about making it as simple as possible. So yeah, you could maybe offer the session fee with a couple digitals and then bring them back to this and a print credit, then bring them back to the studio and say to them, this can apply towards Create a Collection where you would get all the files. You could do that, but I wouldn't offer any more files anywhere else. Let me tell you, that would be it. You get your 5 and then you can spend your print credit on either a la carte or Create a Collection and go from there. But all the files are only available in Create a Collection. That's how kind of I would do it. But I think you can make it simpler than that. I'm trying to think here. It's hard on the spot when my head is all foggy. Anyway, I would see if you did a session fee. Why don't you do just a session fee with a product credit, either digital or print?
Yeah.
And then that can apply towards Create a Collection or a la carte. Then the client feels like they're getting something out of it right from the beginning. And then you have the ability to sell to them later in a hybrid structure if you want it. That would simplify it a little bit. But yeah, of course you can choose any method you want. Just always keep it as simple as possible. I think that's the biggest take home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that it for questions? I think there's probably more. I feel
sure
bad
there's
because
some.
I'm like half, as Michelle
That's
Parson
okay.
would call me, I feel like death on a cracker.
Is that where I should have known that was a
Michelle
Southernism.
Parsley, yes. I feel like death on a cracker.
But also, we're all active in the Facebook group, and I always go through and make sure that questions that were
we'll make
asked
sure
after
those
the
get
fact
answered.
get answered. So if we missed your question, we can definitely answer it in writing. I want to preserve your voice because you also
Thank you.
have
I have my
other
mentoring students
calls this afternoon.
Yes,
So
lots of calls today, so lots of meetings. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. My coffee's officially cold now, so I probably need some more as well. I get this throat of maybe tea with honey and lemon is in order.
Mhm.
Anyway, thank you to Belinda for joining us today. I appreciate it so much. You
course.
always just provide such good words of wisdom, and her spirit and personality just add so much. So thank you. And thank you guys for watching today. Jewel-TV.com to see the archives and to download today's freebie. We would love to see you there. And of course, we will be back here next week live with Crit Critique and Jane Garner. I'm so excited for that. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful week and keep your chin up. I know a lot of you have been struggling with George lately. So have I. I tell you, when you get sick, it's like George takes a serious rain on your
somebody
brain.
I talked to the other day, I think it was one of the mentoring or critique applicants. It was like George was having a family reunion and they were all there. I loved that.
That is awesome. So don't let George get you down. And sometimes you just have to say, this too shall pass. But anyway, love you guys. Thanks for your support, and we'll
Yeah.
see you again next week. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.